Hello again, and welcome to Journal Entry number 2 today for writing for feature films for Texas Tech University. The main topics I'm going to be going over today are point of view, genre, and the beginnings of a script. And the overall importance of these are very instrumental if you're going to tell smaller scale, um, kind of independent films and more importantly, independent scripts. The film I've chosen today is called Three Colors Blue, and honestly, this was an emotional movie. Unlike the previous one, this one really is a more personal yet more realistic film than what I've seen in the past couple of days, actually, since I've watched movies. So today we're going to start with the first concept and definition. Point of view is the first one. It's essentially looking from the character's perspective. You're following this one character's point of view, their perspective of the events throughout the entire film. And so with the movie Three Colors Blue, you're following the protagonist as she goes through these traumatic events, and you start to kind of uncover some things about her that nobody knew about. And generally, she hears and sees things from her past that obviously no one else can hear or see. But because we're looking at the story from her perspective, um, you can see that, this is all playing with her mind. This is really changing the dynamics and how she reacts from it going forward. Now, genre, yet again, from the readings, there's a lot of genres that films can tackle. One of them is realism, which this movie is, which represents reality through everyday experiences. And in the film that I'm talking about, you understand everything that's going on with her because we experience some of these things in our lives, if they're bad or good. And another one from the readings is called The Beginnings of a Script, where if without a good beginning, you can't really have a solid film to go off of. And the purpose of these concepts is they're all instrumental in kind of setting how your film should be. Who's our protagonist? How are we going to follow them? For the genre, you really have to pick one from the beginning. Like, how are audiences going to see this? Like, is this okay? Is this science fiction? Is this action? Is this kind of a realistic take of something? And you can pretty much recognize these pretty easily when you start to find not only notoriety but also relatability to them. So that's really how anybody can see them. Um, and there are some advantages to point of view and genre. Typically, they can really help set the tone and set the story in motion, and you really get to see how a character can possibly change throughout the entire film, and possibly you can have a connection with that character. However, for some disadvantages, point of view is really one of them, where if you're just sticking with one character, but you don't really get any other character just besides the protagonist, then you're not really building up the world that you're in. And when you're making movies, you really need to kind of set the world up. But that's really only one of the bad things I can think about for point of view. Genre, if you don't hit a particular genre, or if you try to, but it hits another point of a genre, then your movie kind of messes up a little bit. And even when it's screenwriting, when you don't know what you want to do, it can really take a hindrance to it. The best strategy a writer can have is, take their time and focus more on how you can get this point of view and genre across. And going back to beginnings, it's all about the beginning. If you write a solid beginning that leads to the middle and the end, it really is impactful and it can really help a lot when it comes to your screenwriting. So the film I chosen is called Three Colors Blue. It is a French film that is part of a Three Colors trilogy that represents the French revolutionary ideals, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Blue, white, red, the colors of the French flag. And the film is about a woman named Julie who has just lost her husband and her daughter in an accident. And the whole film is her trying to move on, if she can, from these events. However, realistically, as any person would know, if you've lost somebody, that's a little bit hard to really let go. Now, it presents the idea of point of view because we see everything from her perspective. We don't change to another person's. We just stay with her throughout the entire story. Um, you really get everything from her point of view. And going back to how she hears her dead husband's unfinished music in her mind, and she's hearing her kid echoing throughout an entire building in her mind because it's from her perspective. She's really trying to get over the deaths, and we're seeing how her mind is trying to process it. That she can. She's trying to, but she can't just get these little memories of them out of her head. And for genre, the realism part, everyone suffers a loss. We all suffer it. I recently lost an aunt in 2019, and really, this movie about this lady hit me because she goes through the same things that I kind of went through when I lost my aunt. And also, another thing under the genre is it's important to get the audience to care, where we have to care for the characters that are being introduced. And we really do care for her throughout the entire film and see her trying to overcome these obstacles and kind of say, can I move on? And if I can, how long until the road is ending? So it does a really good job of that. And the beginning as well, going back to the beginning of a script, it's really smart to kind of start her off after the accident as she tries to really begin losing it and tries to kill herself just to see her husband and daughter again. But she can't. And that's just horrifying to her that she just has to move on. And the film really does succeed in all of these points because they do them so well and they understand it to the audience. They make us know this happens to us too, and it hits you really hard. And I wouldn't really say there's any bad elements. I would say that there are some plot points that kind of come up, like a romance subplot involving the dead husband. Like, that kind of comes out of nowhere. That kind of is a plot, but it's kind of a plot thread. But then again, when people die, there are secrets that you uncover. But I felt like it was just a plot point that kind of really went to nowhere. And so, for the takeaway of this week, these are three important concepts that really, when put into a story, can change it for good. Like, when you write about a character, you have to get into that mindset of what would this character do. You have to understand the character, so when you put it to the screen, the audiences could also see some resemblance to that. And learning from this movie, you see a lot of how you can take a realistic point in people's lives, such as losing somebody, and you can really hit you hard with it. And I really do feel like in the future, films like Joker as well kind of tackle these certain points of views, these genres of, this could happen to anybody, and it can be pretty big. And so my insights for these theories, they really help shift your script, and they can really make a difference of how it can go from bad to good or good to bad. So to summarize everything, the point of view is looking from the character's perspective. It's very important. It helps us follow that role. Genre, you have to pick your genre because what else is your movie going to be about, or your script? And the beginning is always important, as always, to get that point across. And personal recommendations are you really need to follow these three a lot because they can really help. So that's it for today. My citations are Hunter L., The 2-Minute Movie, and Walter R., Story Tell Assembly. I hope this video helped, and I hope you all have a good day. Peace.